Welcome. Class is in session. Welcome to Day Trading 101, the Trading Handbook, Article 1, Section 1, Requirements by yours truly, Relentless Trader. Let's get into it, baby. I hope you guys are excited for this influx of information, this influx of knowledge. Let's get straight into it. Now, a quick disclaimer. I am not liable for any losses. I am not a financial analyst. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an economist, nor am I an accountant. This presentation is strictly for educational purposes. Now let's get straight into it. Today we're going to be going over what is the stock market, the stock market in general, what is day trading, getting started in the market, trading simulators, what is a broker, the functions of a broker, as well as building a watch list. And here we'll cover a lot of the general questions that most beginner traders have, when trying to get into the market. So, what is the stock market? The stock market is like any other market. It is an interaction between buyers and sellers, hence the name, the stock exchange. Now, if you think about your local market, there you're exchanging currency or money for goods. So the stock market isn't that much different in that sense. Now, instead of your average goods, what is being exchanged, you may ask, is shares of different companies. And these shares are being exchanged between, individuals like you and I. So what is a share? A share is simply a part ownership of a company. So individuals are buying, small parts of companies and are exchanging it to other traders and new traders and so forth at different prices. So that's all the stock market really is. You don't want to confuse yourself and overthink it. It's simply an interaction between buyers and sellers, and we're just buying small shares of different companies. So when looking at the stock market, right, it can be generalized to the point where, where it's almost ridiculous, because I like to compare it to science, right? We all went to grade school, we all took science classes before, and we all know that science can be more specific. When saying I like science, that can be that phrase can be more specific. So when looking at science, there's biology, physics, astronomy, anatomy, physiology. I mean, the list goes on and on. So when looking at the market, the stock market, what I do specifically is called day trading. Now, what is day trading? Day trading is the act of buying and selling a stock within the same day. Pretty simple. The market opens at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and closes at 4 p.m. So any time that you buy and sell a stock within that day, that you've just executed a day trade. So for me personally, trades usually last minutes or even seconds. Now, it's very unusual for me to be in a trade for more than 30 minutes, and to be in a position for more than an hour it's very unlikely. In fact, throughout my 1 year and about 3 months or so of experience, I've only been in a trade for more than an hour one time. So just keep that in mind. And when talking about the market and going back to that whole idea of generalization, just to give you guys some subsections of these different markets, there's within the stock market itself, there's swing trading, which is buying a stock and holding it overnight or for a few days and then selling it. And then there's investing, which is what most people are familiar with. Investing is buying these companies, buying shares and holding it for weeks, months, or even years. So you'll hear a lot you hear a lot on the news about these companies like Facebook, Apple, all these big companies that investors are doing really well. The price of these stocks are going higher and higher. Some other markets include the forex, foreign exchange, um, cryptocurrency. Some of these terminologies that you guys will most likely know and have heard of before. There's also bonds, which is debt. You can trade that as well. There's options trading. There's a few type of trading when it comes to the stock market and other markets in general. But for me, my icing, my cup of tea, day trading. So hold on, let's go back. So, what are some of the benefits of day trading? Now, day trading, it there's you don't you the best part about day trading is that you don't need a lot of money to see your returns. Like investing, you it really takes a while for your profits to accumulate, and sometimes if you're investing in these larger stocks, you need a lot of equity. Buying shares of Amazon. Amazon is around $2,000 for one share. Not all of us can afford, you know, 10 shares of Apple, which would be $20,000. Well, excuse me, Amazon, which would be $20,000. So, day trading, you definitely don't need as much money to see good return, and that's one of the main reason why I focused on day trading as opposed to investing or some other form of trading. So, getting started, right? We all want to know how to get started. So, now that you're familiar with what the market is and what specifically you need to look for, now you need to know how to get started. And there's two ways. So first, there's risk money. Now, risk money is money that does not affect your livelihood if lost. Now, this will be the initial investment that you will make in order to get started. So, 95% of day traders, right? That's a rough number, but it's around that range. Most day traders usually lose their initial investments just learning how to trade and just pretty much getting their feet wet. So, you hear about these stories of guys coming into the market, well, guys and girls coming into the market, and they're coming in with, hundreds of thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, and they lose it all in just a few months. Now, you don't want that to be you. You want to use risk money, a small investment that, will not affect your livelihood in any way or form. Now, learning to day trade is not an easy task, hence why most beginner traders lose their initial investment. Day trading takes months or even years to fully grasp. Now, you'll have a lot of individuals on Instagram and Facebook and all these different websites, telling you, hey, if you give me a small investment of $1,000, I can get you $5,000 within 1 week. I'm seeing such awesome returns. I'm here to tell you to stay away from that stuff. Most of it is fraudulent, actually. What will happen is that you'll give someone your $1,000, and then you'll be communicating with them, but before long the account that you're talking to is deactivated, and then you're wondering, what just happened to my money, and so you want to stay away from that stuff. Trading, when it comes to the markets, it takes months and years to get good to the point where you're consistently profitable, and you'll be able to make a living from simply just trading, a 1 to 2 hours a day. So this is the first way to get started, right? Having a small amount of money that you can use to invest. The second way to get started is with a trading simulator. Now, simulators grant traders the ability to trade the live market with artificial currency. This allows for any individual, to trade the U.S. stock market without exposing themselves to any risk. Meaning, you will not have to use your real, hard-earned money. So, the simulator is definitely an option to consider. It's the second option. Now, quickly, I'll just give you guys a list of simulators that you can look into. Some of them are free, some of them are not. And I will mention this, please, please, please make sure you do your research on everything. If coming into the market, make sure you do your research on everything. So, me giving you these list of simulators, if you're gonna consider using one of them, make sure you read it up, watch YouTube videos, do whatever you can to be well informed about it. So the first one, and the one that I'm most familiar with, is Think or Swim by TD Ameritrade. Now, I use this simulator, but there's one issue that I have with it, and that's the level 2. Now, some of you may not know what that means just yet, but we will get into it in the next class. So look out for that. But that's the only issue I have with that one. The other simulator here that I have is Bear Bull Trader Simulator, the Warrior Trading Simulator. I know that one is you have to pay for that one. There's Ninja Trader, which I believe is free, and Stock Trainer. So you guys can look around online and find some simulators that may fit your your needs or your budget. So trading in the simulator is often referred to as paper trading. That's a terminology that you can familiarize yourself with, get familiar with. Now, what are the pros and cons of using a simulator versus using real money? So the first thing, being in a simulator, right? You're not risking your own money, that initial investment. So you're not losing any money. That's the first thing. Now the second thing is that you can trade with an account that's over $25,000 and not be limited by the PDT rule. Now, if you're not familiar with the PDT rule, this is a rule that was put into place in 2001 by the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, that says you cannot execute more than 3 day trades per every 5 business days. Now, if you guys remember, in the slide from earlier, a few slides ago, a day trade is when you buy and sell a stock within the same day. Now, this rule states that if you do not have more than $25,000 in your account, you cannot perform more than 3 day trades per every 5 business days. Now, this is extremely limiting. Just to give you guys an idea, now that I'm in the simulator right now, and I execute about 5 trades a day. So to be limited to 3 trades per every 5 days is just absurd. It's very difficult to be able to see good profits only trading 3 times a week. So, that's something that the simulator really helps you with, getting past that barrier until you can, possibly borrow the money to invest the $25,000 as you get good over time in the simulator, or, save up the money on your own. So some of the cons, right? And this is the biggest issue of using the simulator, in my opinion. So there's a mental roadblock that every individual using the simulator must overcome. And that is treating the paper money as real money. This is such a huge issue. And for me, because I started off using real money at the peak of my account, there was about $14,000 in there, I want to say. And so from using real money, switching over to the simulator, I very quickly realized that in the simulator, I was doing things that I wouldn't have done had I been using real money. So it took me about a week or two to fully, elevate my mind to get it to that point where I truly believe that my paper money is real money. And ever since that 2 weeks that I finally overcame that obstacle. Now if somebody comes up to me and tell me, hey, you do know that you're in a simulator, right? I'll tell them, I may be in a simulator, but my money is real. My profits are real. My gains are real. And that's exactly the mindset that you need to be successful. And if you think about a pilot, right, that's in training, let's say they passed all their exams and they're in a flying simulator, right? That pilot is going to want to treat that simulator with 100% seriousness, because ultimately they're gonna have to go and fly a real plane. You don't want to be in the simulation joking around. For that pilot, that's gonna mean life or death. How well can I fly the plane? How well can I land? How well can I take off? For you and I, it's how much money are we gonna lose? Oh, sorry about that. It's how much money are we gonna lose if we don't treat the simulator as it is, and as it should be, which is real money. So for that pilot, that's life or death. For us, it's a matter of how much money will we lose. So you want to treat the simulator as real money. And so some of the things that you can watch out for in the simulator is unrealistic executions. Now, with certain stocks, there's only so much supply out there, right? So let's say there's 1 million shares outstanding to the public. So there's 1 million shares that everyone on the market can potentially buy. In the simulator, you can literally take as much size as you want without any slippage or simply just not being able to be filled. So to give you guys a real scenario, right? Stocks with about 1 million shares outstanding, it is very difficult to even take about 80,000 shares, using real money. And in the simulator, you can literally take 900,000 shares. So with real money, that would be an unrealistic execution. And unrealistic trades, it's a similar concept. With real money, you would tell yourself, what, this trade is too risky. I'm only looking to take 1,000 shares. So why would it be that in a simulator you would take 100,000 shares? So you want to just treat it real. In a simulator, another thing to look out for is complacency and lack of drive. So let's say you lose money, and it's like, what, I'm in a simulator, I lost money, I don't care. No, if you're treating this as real money, you should care. That should bother you that you made mistakes and you lost money. One of the most important parts of trading is the emotional and psychological battle that we pretty much have to fight every single day. And it has a lot to do with our winners and losers, especially the losers. So in a simulator, as long as you treat it like it's real money, you're gonna feel upset whenever you lose money. And that's very important because if we, let's say we have $500 in our wallets and we lost our wallet, we're going to be upset that we lost money. And it should be the same way in the simulator. So you want to keep that drive, you want to be determined to do better, and keep pushing forth. High risk strategies, this ties right back into unrealistic expectations and trades. So those are the pros and cons for the simulator. Now, the pros and cons when using real money. So one of the pros of using real money is that you'll be more familiar with executions. That emotional tie that you'll have to your money will be there 100% because you're using your money. You wouldn't have to go through that battle of convincing yourself that the simulator is real money. So no complacency. Whenever you lose, you'll be trying to figure out ways to get better. You'll be taking realistic trades, even if you don't want to. You'll be forced into. If there's 1 million shares outstanding and you can only afford so much shares, you can only afford so much shares. And you're less inclined to take high risk strategies and high risk trades. So one of the cons is that, of course, like I mentioned, as a beginner trader, there's a very, very high chance. This number is not scientifically proven, I will say, but there's a very, very high chance that you lose your initial investment. And there's individuals that invest about 3-4 times and lose all 3-4 times. Their account go to zero. So you don't want to be this guy here saying please no, God no. So these are some of the pros and cons of using real money. Now that you've learned, what the stock market is, you have a very good idea of what the stock market is. You have a very good idea now of what subsection of the stock market you want to focus on, which is day trading. And now you're at the point where you're deciding whether or not you want to use real money or use a simulator. What's the next step? The next step is identifying a broker. Now, what is a broker? Let's start off with that, right? A broker, by definition, is a person or firm who arranges transactions between a buyer and a seller for a commission when the deal is executed. I'm here to tell you that this is no longer true. With the advancements of technology, any individual can now access a broker from their back pockets. Brokers are now softwares, apps. You might be familiar with Robinhood, E-Trade. Some of these are brokers that you may have seen in commercials or heard about online. Now, each broker, has an advantage and a disadvantage. Each broker caters to a certain type of day trader or investor or swing trader. So, just like the simulator, you want to do your research about which broker you can start, trading with. And some of these brokers, like I mentioned, Thinkorswim by TD Ameritrade, some of these brokers have free simulators. Personally, I use when I'm live, I use E-Trade Pro, and for the simulator, I use TD Ameritrade. But there's tons and tons and tons of brokers. Just to name a few that are not up here, there's Centerpoint, and that's used for traders that love to go shorting stocks. So we'll get into that in the next chapter. Don't worry. There's Short Trader. Now, I did mention that there's a way to get around the $25,000 account minimum balance if you want to take more than 3 day trades per every 5 business days. And Short Traders is one of those brokers that allows you to trade unlimitedly with an account less than $25,000. So you can invest $2,000, $5,000, $10,000, however much your budget allows you to invest. But the only issue is that these brokers like Short Trader are offshore. They're not on U.S. soil. Short Trader is located in the Bahamas. Now this one, like I mentioned again, you do want to do your research, but this one I'm most familiar with. They do have some offshore brokers that you'll invest your money, you'll make some profits, you'll try to take your money out, but then you get into complications. You have the broker telling you no, you have to wait. You have to wait a certain period of time before you can take your money out, and all these craziness, and they're pretty much trying to steal your money. So there is a risk of using an offshore broker to get around that PDT rule that we mentioned before. But to continue on the list of brokers, there's also interactive brokers, and up here you see Lightspeed. Now, I did mention that each broker has an advantage and a disadvantage. Now, Robinhood is a free broker. You can download this app on your phone, and you can have access to this broker. Robinhood, because it's free, it's like you pay for what you get. Now, E-Trade, when I'm live, I pay $5 in and $5 out. So every time I'm buying and selling a stock, I'm automatically down $10, right? But with what that does for me is that what this broker does for me to make up for that is that it gives me an abundance of tools, which we'll get into in the next upcoming slides. Now, on top of a broker being a software, a broker also provides you with a license to day trade or trade stocks in general. Now, just like how a lawyer would need to have a license to be a lawyer, or a doctor would need a license to be a doctor, brokers, also need license to trade stocks. Now, the individual like you and I, we don't have license to trade stocks. So brokers provides us that license to trade stocks. It's sort of like a middleman thing. It's like each broker has a license, and they grant us the ability to trade stocks through their name. So keep that in mind. That's also good to know. You don't need, if you're familiar with these movies like Wolf on Wall Street's back in the days, you had individuals calling on the phone to call their broker, who would literally be a person telling them, "Hey, the market is going down. Can you sell my position for me?" Now you have the power to be your own broker essentially, and buy and sell stocks yourself. And always have the mindset that if someone else can do it, I can do it too. You just need, like I mentioned, you just need that time to learn and learn and learn, and eventually you'll be just as good as the next broker. So, functions of a broker. So in addition to granting you a license to trade, brokers also assume the role of a bank. Now, what does that mean? So each broker, you upload your money. Let's say you download, the Robinhood app. You're gonna link your bank account to Robinhood, and then transfer your money to Robinhood. So essentially, Robinhood is now storing your money for you. And one thing I will mention is that just like banks, brokers also invest your money. So if you're not familiar with this, most banks invest your money that's in there, and they give you like a 0.03% return on that money. But or it might be even lower than that, because the return is so low, most individuals don't even notice it. And so the people who do are the people with millions, hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars in their bank accounts. They see that 0.003% return. Now brokers invest your money the same way, and just like how a bank is, it's like you can go to the bank and draw your money out at any time. From the broker, you can transfer your money back to your bank account at any time. There's just a standard like 3 business days length that it takes for your money to get back into your account. So that's not to scare you, saying that the brokers invest your money for you, because the banks do as well. It's like that's one of their ways of making money from your money. This country is a very capitalistic society, and people will find ways to make money any way they can. So, secondly, brokers provide their customers with an abundance of tools to give them a competitive edge when day trading or trading in general. So, here's a layout of my tools on eTrade Pro. Just to go over a few of them, there's chartings, different charts. One of the best parts about eTrade Pro is that they provide you with a live feed to Bloomberg TV. So Bloomberg is if you're not familiar with it, it's all things business, all things investing, all things stock market. So this is very good to watch if you're interested in the overall market in general, and all those companies, Apple, Facebook, Ford, all those big companies. This is where you'll keep up to date. They inform you when earnings for these companies are released, and all the big news and events. So eTrade provides me with a strategy scanner. This scanner, I made a scanner that shows me every time a stock is gapping up more than 5% in the market. Now, I did mention before, you pay for what you get. Now, a broker like Robinhood, not. I used to use Robinhood in the early days, but I doubt whether they have something like this even up to now. It's been a while since I really went into that app and played around with it. But eTrade allows you to build a scanner. There's an abundance of tools: time and sales, quick quotes, market depth, which is level 2. Again, we'll go over this in a future video. This is very important: time and sales and market depth, high-low tickers, margin. I want to believe Robinhood grants margin now, but I'm not sure. But margin or leverage is it's a multiple of your equity or buying power. eTrade does 2 times leverage, but there's some other brokers. For example, if you go back, Lightspeed does 4 times leverage. So but this broker do have a minimum deposit of $25,000. But if you deposit $25,000 into Lightspeed, you'll essentially have $100,000 to buy and sell stocks, which is pretty important. So for those of you that are coming across this video, again, again, I'm going to mention, if your budget allows you to invest a certain amount of money, and again, it's not money that's going to affect your livelihood, you guys can test out some of these, these brokers. Of course, do your research. So one of the other important tools here is your watch list. Now, constructing a watch list, right? Your watch list should be comprised of stocks that you generally are interested in and stocks that you are potentially willing to trade. So here's a small sample of stocks from my Robinhood watch list from when I used to use Robinhood a lot back in the early days. And here's about 38 or 39 of the stocks on my E-Trade watch list. And this is from Friday the 16th of August of 2019. So on this day, SLDB was up 46% on the close, and you guys just can take a look through the list and feel free, if you're gonna be day trading like myself, stocks between $1, or I should say 50 cents and $10. That's my go-to price range. You guys can take down some of these stocks. Now again, I'm not liable for any losses. I'm not saying to go, buy these stocks or anything like that, but they're good to just watch at. And of course, if you're interested in the overall market as well, you can add stocks like Amazon, Netflix, all the bigger stocks to your list, just to see how the price action is, just to see how how much percentage these stocks are going up and down on a daily basis, and so forth. So questions. Now, this is a crash course. It's not going to be terribly long. I feel like I did cover a lot of the general questions that most beginner traders have, but of course I know I am missing a few things, and this is why this section is here. I want you guys to leave every and all questions below in the comments. I will answer everything, from simpler questions to the more advanced questions. It does not matter. Leave them all below and I will answer them all in detail. Now, that'll be the end of class 1. Of course, make sure if you're watching the video to the end, which you should be, which I hope you are, make sure you subscribe and share the video. Follow the Relentless Trader Instagram as well as the Snapchat, excuse me. I'm planning on using the Snapchat more. Right now it's not as active as it should be, but that's going to change in the near future. And of course, there's going to be more content coming to the channel. Stay tuned for that. The recap videos, always check them out. Check out the live videos as well. And at this point in time here of making your watch list, even in the simulator, I do not recommend you take any trades as of yet. If you're using real money, you definitely shouldn't be taking any trades. No trades in the simulator. It's all real money from this point on out, or this point on in. So if you guys are brand new and you're following this guide here with me hand in hand, I highly recommend that you do not take any trades. You don't want to mess up your stats going into your journey. There's still a lot more that you need to know in order to even take your first trade. So at this point in time, you just want to keep playing around in your broker, keep taking a look at your watch list, adding to it, looking at different sectors, whether that may be biotech, pharmaceuticals, whatever you like. Just keep adding it to your watch list and keep building. Right now, I don't suggest that you guys take any trades as of yet. So You want to play around in your broker, the one that you've chose. You want to play around, get familiar with it. For me, you know, getting used to E-Trade Pro took about a few days. You know, you want to watch tutorials, you want to watch videos, you want to just personalize your broker and you know, feel comfortable using it, know what button does what, you know, and getting into the market can seem very intimidating. I should have taken a screenshot of my entire screen to show you guys. You know, I'll actually pull it up here in a second, right? But getting into a broker can seem very intimidating. But you know, as long as you play around with it, you'll realize quickly that each tool is simply a component that makes up, you know, that makes up a list of things that you're going to be using to be successful. You know, so for example, your watch list, your scanners, and so forth. But I'm gonna pull up the I'm gonna pull up my E-Trade Pro quickly just so you guys can have a look. Give me a second here. I'm gonna have to oh, hold on. One second. You know, I'm just gonna give you guys a quick look to you know, to see what E-Trade Pro looks like. And when I switched from E-Trade to Robinhood, you know, there was definitely a learning curve there. You know, and I jumped head on. Back in those days, I was still using real money, and you know, I was very intimidated by what I saw. I'm like, man, what is this that I'm looking at? And like I mentioned, it only took a few days for me to get used to everything on the screens. So let me pull over the main screen over here. Okay, I'm gonna have to minimize this. So, and this is what I mean by components. You know, for example, this right here is simply just this chart. This will be the level 2, but you know, the markets are closed, so the prices aren't going through. And a quick description of the level 2. I mentioned it a few times already. Level 2 simply shows you where people are trying to buy the stock and where people are trying to sell the stock, and where the orders are going through. We'll get into that in the future videos. You know, but you know, there's nothing to be intimidated by or anything like that. So this is what my main E-Trade page look like. You know, now you just have some stocks that are running along here that are going up and down in the market, and this is from the close of Friday. You know, here's what the overall market was looking like on the close as well. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was up 300 points, which is good, decent amount. This right here is literally a scanner of stocks that were up on Friday. This is a chart with a 5-minute interval period. You know, so from using Robinhood is going to be a little bit more simple, right? So it'll be easy for you guys to fully get everything. But the other brokers will more or less look similar to this. You know, you'll start off with a blank screen like this, and you'll go to tools. You know, that tool section will probably be located in a different area, and you're just going to keep adding different things into your space, your screen, and then before you know it, you know, you have a couple of charts, you have a scanner. You know, these are also scanners. This scanner here shows me every stock that's going up more than 5% when the market is open. You know, and you're just going to have a list of different things that, you know, that are going to make up your screen. So don't be intimidated by it. You know, it's going to take you a few days to get used to. A few days until the next section of this class is ready. So, you know, get familiar, do your research, take your time, you know. And one thing that I will say, right, this is very important as well. Being in the simulator and just being a beginner in general, practicing, you guys are going to be seeing my profits and my loss, you know, and I don't want you guys to ever feel that you're missing out, because the market has been here for decades and will be here for decades to come. You know, unless we have something catastrophic like the planet blowing up or something like that, but that's very unlikely. So as long as the economy is growing and you know, and companies are coming out with new technologies and so forth, stocks are going to continue to make good moves. And, practicing in the sim is going to be a blessing, because when you finally get to that level where you're consistently profitable and you're ready to transition into real money, before you know it, man, you're going to be making $200 a day. And those same stocks that you were seeing in the sim, history repeats itself. So the same stocks and the same patterns, all are going to be repeating itself, and you guys will be able to take advantage of that. So keep that in mind. Just be encouraged. Stay enthusiastic, and that's going to do it. I will give you guys a sneak peek into the next class. It's actually already finished, and that'll be terminology. So get excited for that. With terminology, you wanna be familiar with the lingo of the market. There's gonna be a certain amount of things within the broker itself that you're gonna need to know what they mean, and I'm gonna be here to help you guys along with that process. So that's gonna do it for this session. I hope you guys enjoyed the first class of the 101 section. It's been Relentless Trader, and I'm signing out.